Hi guys and girls, I'm Obsidian and this is an early look at the upcoming space game Rebel Galaxy Outlaw. So essentially this is a brand new space game that is kind of a prequel to the previous release. More to the point though, it's a game that some might consider a spiritual successor to Freelancer and Privateer, although that said, without a doubt it's certainly very much its own thing. Influences from the earlier generation of space games can certainly be felt all over the place though, from the vibrant visuals to the ship designs, the cockpit layouts, as well as the HUD and UI implementations. Gameplay also is very much influenced by those older titles. Now, to get this out of the way up front, people are going to ask, how does Rebel Galaxy Outlaw compare to the other current batch of popular space games such as X4 Foundations, Elite Dangerous, and Star Citizen? Well, the answer to that is very simple. Rebel Galaxy Outlaw is a very different game to those others, and as such, it's really not comparable. This title is very much grounded in being a game, whereas the other titles to various degrees are simulations, whether that's flight simulations, galaxy simulations or trading simulations. You won't be managing things like that in Rebel Galaxy Outlaw. You won't be managing every aspect of your ship. You won't be going on long multi-day journeys into the depths of space, and you won't be building massive trade empires or walking around in the interior of your ships. That isn't what Rebel Galaxy Outlaw is about. And in my opinion, that's a very good thing. After all, we already have games that do those things. We already have games that are effectively simulations in one way or another. So this game feels fresh in many ways. Before we get into the meat of this video though, do keep in mind that this is a first impressions video. It isn't a review and you shouldn't see it as such. I've certainly played the game long enough at this point to get a decent feel for the basics and the mechanics along with the game world itself, and I feel comfortable with being in a position to give early impressions on the game. More fully fleshed out videos though on the various aspects of the game will most likely come at a later date if I feel there's a need for that. So Rebel Galaxy Outlaw then places you in the shoes of space pilot Juno, and you can see her right here on the screen now. At the start of the game, you find yourself in control of a beat up hunk of junk spaceship. In the typical vein of games in this genre, your task is to make yourself rich and gain access to more powerful ships, weapons and modules. You can do these things via a whole bunch of activities including missions, mining, trading, bounty hunting and, if you so choose, less savoury activities such as piracy and murder. The game also features what looks to be an extensive storyline, although as of this recording I'm only in the early stages of that. However, it does lead you across the galaxy on an adventure where you will meet some pretty unique characters that are all very well voice acted. Talking of the galaxy then, the game is split into various star systems. These are connected via jump gates which essentially build up to a network of interconnected systems. To get from one side of the map to the other, you'll need to travel through all of the interceding gates. This doesn't take as long as it sounds however, as Rebel Galaxy Outlaw uses a number of different travel modes. To start with, you have a regular flight, which you use to travel around the areas you are currently in. Secondly is the point-to-point travel. This allows you to rapidly move from your current location to your destination. And there's two ways that you can use this travel mode. First is the autopilot, which is basically fast travel. It will give you a very short cutscene, which you can also skip. Alternatively, you can use the sub-light speed travel mode, and this will send your ship into a warp tunnel, moving you across the star system, essentially manually travelling from one place to another. This allows you to fully experience both the size and scale of the star systems. Now, you cannot direct your spaceship once it's in the warp tunnel, however you can drop out of warp at any point that you actually like. During travel, whether you fly manually or use autopilot, your journey may get interrupted. Quite often I found my ship dropping out of warp or autopilot due to detected distress signals, which I could then, if I so choose, go investigate. More on that in just a moment. The final mode of travel is using the jump gates. You can't use these immediately at the start of the game, as you need a jump drive installed on your ship, and they cost more money than you actually have at the beginning. Travelling around then is painless and very easy. You won't find yourself staring at the screen for minutes or hours at a time as your ship slowly makes its way from point to point. However, if you so choose, you can slow boat it by using manual sublight flight. It's nice to have options, isn't it? Back to those distress signals then. These appear from time to time. They show up on your radar as purple icons and you can choose to go and investigate. You never really know what you're going to find, On one occasion, I found a trading ship under attack by pirates. I destroyed the pirates and got a reward from the trader. Equally, I could just as easily have shot down the trading ship. On other occasions, the distress signal led me to ships trapped in a minefield, large abandoned cargo containers, and even, more than once, into a trap laid by pirates. It keeps you on your toes, that's for sure. At this point, I don't know how many variations on distress signals or scenarios there are, so it's possible that people may find that this gets repetitive. However, these are certainly entirely optional, and so far I've found that they add to the life of the game world. These distress signals also pay pretty well, either directly in terms of credits, or in terms of cargo that you're either given or can take. But watch out, sometimes these places can be deadly. More than once I limped away with far more damage to my ship than I'd gained in rewards. Now this brings me nicely onto combat, but before I get into that, I want to talk briefly about the different game modes that Rebel Galaxy Outlaw offers. There are 4 different modes of play that you can choose from when starting a new game, and these cannot be changed once you begin, so choose wisely. Each mode offers varying degrees of flight and combat assist. Normal mode, which is what I have used so far, offers both flight and combat assist in addition to a reasonably good starting equipment. At the opposite end of the scale, you have Old School, which gives you junk equipment and no assists whatsoever. It also limits you to first-person view. When I talk about combat then, keep in mind that my current first impressions are based on playing this game from normal mode. More extensive videos on this may come later when I've tried out the other modes. So combat is certainly very fast. I also found it to be fun, although at the moment I haven't gone beyond the starter ship. This ship is fitted with 3 hardpoints, outfitted this with 2 lasers and a single heat-seeking missile launcher. Combat then is certainly very much about chasing your target. Normal mode features an auto-pursuit option. To use this, you target a hostile and simply hold down the right mouse button or respective button on gamepad or HOTAS. The ship will then automatically chase your target as it attempts to keep the enemy under your crosshairs. This means that you don't have to get involved in frantically flying your ship in fights and can instead focus purely on your weapons. But this of course is entirely optional, and you can certainly rely more on traditional forms of combat. Personally, I think it's fantastic to have these options, and it will certainly allow players with a whole variety of different skill levels to get involved. Now, some people will undoubtedly criticise this as an easy mode, which, is a fair point, but it's also an optional mode, don't forget that. And as the game is entirely single player, how you choose to play has no effect on anyone else. Both your ship and the enemy ships are outfitted with shields, which are split into 4 quadrants. These will absorb a set amount of damage before allowing damage through to the hull. Once the hull is gone, the ship explodes. If you die, you return to your previous save. You can also balance energy or power between shields, systems, and engines. Now I also felt that combat is very visually appealing. As with the rest of the game, the colours are vibrant, and this leads to some spectacular weapon effects and some really nice looking explosions. Killing an enemy then has a very satisfying feeling to it. Now if this sounds like combat can be quick paced and quick to both get into and out of, that's because, at least from my first impressions so far, that is exactly how it is, and it works. Don't go in expecting simulation levels of combat here. As I said at the start of the video, that isn't what Rebel Galaxy Outlaw is about. But if you're looking for frantic, satisfying combat, then this might be what you want. I'm keen to take a look at combat in the other difficulty modes, however, as I suspect there will be some pretty hefty differences. As for the ships themselves, that is something I can't comment on too much at the moment. As of right now, I've only played in the initial starter ship. The game features 9 different ships, each of which are focused on different benefits. Some are good at combat, whilst others are good at hauling, for example. But what I can comment on is that the ships are nicely upgradable with a bunch of different modules to use and purchase, each of which improves your ship. The handling of the ship is decent, and there's certainly a strong element of arcade flight to the game. However, I've also added that the ship I flew had weight, inertia and momentum, all of which are essential for conveying the sense of actually flying a ship in space. Now, I might be wrong on this one, but despite testing, retesting and also looking throughout the key bindings, it appears to me that the ships do not have 6 degrees of flight. That is to say, whilst you can pivot, pitch and rotate, I couldn't find any way of using either vertical or lateral thrust. Now I might be wrong on that, but I did spend quite some time looking. Now due to the nature of the gameplay, this doesn't really present too much of an issue, but it may turn out to be a bit of a problem for some people, and I could totally understand that if that was so. Now if I've somehow missed something obvious here, do please let me know in the video description. I know there's a bunch of you that do have access to the title, so do correct me if I'm wrong on this. Now all of that said, the game also does feature an option to disable inertial dampening, and I bound that to the spacebar, and basically as you use this, you can essentially maintain your direction and velocity whilst being able to reposition your ship to any orientation. This, for me at least then, is a key element of spaceflight, and it works very, very well. Now the real meat of any space game goes way beyond the flight mechanics and the combat. Both the flight mechanics and the combat are really the foundation of the game, and they need to be implemented well in order to have an enjoyable game. Rebel Galaxy Outlaw then builds a strong foundation in that regards. It's both fun and customizable. Whilst it isn't a sim, it has a lot of flexibility and is certainly fun. The added ability to choose between keyboard and mouse, gamepad and HOTAS is also nice. So whilst these foundations of Rebel Galaxy Outlaw are strong, what is the rest of the game like? Well, developers Double Damage have built a lot of stuff on top of these foundations. Missions, trading, mining, bounty hunting, piracy, and even, to a degree, some elements of exploration are all here. There's also a load of minigames that include 8-ball, slot machines, and even an Asteroids arcade cabinet clone, and that's just a selection from among a number of other minigames that are available. Now I'm not going to go into too much detail on all these various elements in this particular video, as they are all deserving of their own videos. My main aim here with this video is to provide my first impressions after all, and give a feel for those strong foundations. Mining and trading I will again discuss in more detail in another video. The mission systems definitely seem interesting meanwhile. There's a range of missions available from combat through to trading and delivery, and these come in various degrees of difficulty, with the harder ones paying high rewards. Some will take you into other star systems, and it's worth paying attention to this because not all star systems are the same. While some have high police presence, others are entirely lawless. On a few occasions I was chased across lawless space by some extremely powerful pirate ships that were intent on blowing me up. These distinctions in lore is more than just background tapestry however, as you can build your reputations with either the pirate factions or the lawful ones, and there's benefits to both, so it will really depend on your playstyle. Now I also want to say a word about the menu system. To be honest, I found them a little bit clunky. The radial menu, I guess I've kind of got used to those things. It works very well if you're using a gamepad. It seems a little bit off if you're using a mouse and keyboard however, although that's to be expected with radial menus, it's just what they are. The main menu is very endearing in many ways. It's clearly a throwback to the 16-bit era. You can see over on the side it says Omigo in the classic Amiga font. A great computer, by the way, that I spent my childhood on, a lot of time on that. But nonetheless, it is a little bit on the clunky side. And using the menus is a little bit awkward, but, well, I guess that's not exactly game breaking. And also, for some reason, when you're on the title menu, the main menu, when you load up the game, if you press the escape key, it quits you straight out the game without any form of confirmation dialogue. A little bit on the odd side then, but that only happens on the title screen and not anywhere else in the game. The music is also something that I should mention. There's over 400 tracks of music throughout the game, totaling 24 hours of music. It's a great selection, and a lot of people actually said great things about the music in my recent live stream. But if the music really isn't your taste, you can also customize it by adding your own music to the 7 already existing radio stations available in the game. Now, Rebel Galaxy Outlaw is due for release on the 13th of August on the Epic Store, and if you fancy seeing some more in-depth videos, then do keep an eye on my YouTube channel because I will be releasing more videos over the coming days. That then brings us to an end of this video. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.